Welcome to the SPEAKPact podcast, where high-performing speakers and the producers who hire them merge to give you the insider secrets to the lucrative speaking industry. Antoniette Roze, your podcast host and celebrated speaker agent, unveils insider success strategies. Discover a nexus of thought leaders and bookers, maximizing your potential in each and every episode. Your ticket to ultimate speaking success begins right here. Catch the transformative insights waiting for you on the SPEAKPact podcast, hosted by the industry powerhouse herself, Antoniette Roze.
Welcome back to SPEAKPact. Have you ever wondered how to break into the associations industry as a speaker? Have you ever wondered how to be a sought-after speaker to associations? There's so much opportunity there. I'm your host, Antoniette Roze, and I have an expert when it comes to really utilizing that whole space as a speaker. Ed Rigsbee is with us. He is a multiple author. I'm just going to read through a couple of your books, but I think we're going to dive in to some of them. You have booked The Insider's Guide. You have The Art of Partnering, Developing Strategic Alliances, a whole nother book, ROI of Membership. I think you have one on strategic alliance development. You have a lot of books, and they come from a lot of experience. You've been in the industry for many years. You're recognized not only by the National Speakers Association and the Certified Association Executive. You are a Certified Association Executive. You are a Certified Speaking Professional. I think one of the few in the United States who has both of those designations.
Sure.
So you're definitely well recognized, well versed, well experienced, and well known in this space, and perfect for our stage. So welcome, Ed.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. I so appreciate the wisdom that you're going to share with us. What, in the very beginning, you had been a nonprofit CEO for 25 years. I'm sure just organically with that, you utilized your voice to get your message out there. But at what point did you decide to make speaking a major part of your business model, and specifically make speaking through associations a big part of your model?
Sure. Well, let's go way back to the 1970s. I was selling sunglasses to retail stores. And because I had worked at Yosemite National Park as the ski shop manager, I really resonated with snow skiing. And I noticed that the reps that sold skis to the ski shops, they would come in and do product clinics. Well, I started doing product clinics for sunglasses because we had the quote no-name brand, but we had the low end, the high end. So I bought what's called a spectrometer, and it shows, the light transmission and all the good stuff. And I would go in and start doing product clinics like the ski reps would do on sunglasses, and it would boost my sales. And I had been doing that for a few years, just doing it to get more sales in sunglasses. And the company that I was involved with asked me to teach all the other reps how to do those product clinics. And that kind of started my speaking career. Then I ran into a woman by the name of Patricia Fripp in 1984 at one of our sales meetings, and she lit the spark. I hate to say it, but most of the speakers I had seen before that I thought were idiots. But with Patricia, she was so authentic. She was so good. She had so much to say. And, my first son was just born that year. And I'd been in the sunglass business for a long time. And it's like, I want to do this. I want to do something different. I want to be like Patricia. And it took me about 7 years before I transitioned full time into being like Patricia. And so early in my career, one of my favorite moments was when she and I were on the same platform together, one before the other. And it's like, oh, well, maybe I am now. like Patricia, not as good as her, but like her a little bit. So that was my journey to professional speaking.
Okay, so when you say professional speaking, I love your journey. It's from eyeglass gas station seller to now one of the top speakers out there. That's a lot of fun. So I think that there's a thought process out there that nonprofits and associations don't pay, and this is your full-time career. So to tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, let me back up just a smidge and define public speaker as opposed to professional speaker.
Okay.
Public speaker is a person that like belongs to Toastmasters and they're out there doing presentations, so forth and so on. Well, not too many people pay for an 8-minute presentation that Toastmasters does. A professional speaker is somebody that earns a good part of their revenue, a good part of their income from speaking on the stage, whether it's live on the stage, whether it's virtual. There's a host of ways people today share their knowledge, share their IP, share their subject matter expertise. So the interesting thing with associations is, and I've done a tremendous number of interviews with association decision makers. Most of the associations out there, and let me back up a little bit more too. We have trade associations and we have professional societies. All are nonprofit. Most of them are not nonprofit charities. Nonprofit charity be a 501c3. These are nonprofit, what used to be called business leagues, 501c6. And a trade association, usually the company joins. A professional society, usually the individual joins. All of these groups, let me restate, most of these groups, they have annual meetings, they have regional meetings, they have virtual trainings. And most of these groups pay speakers to come and share their expertise. But they don't just pay a public speaker that happens to be able to tell a good 8-minute story. Nobody's going to pay for that. And so they're looking for people that have a subject matter expertise in a host of different things, anywhere from sales, marketing, HR, AI, DEI, and gambit of subjects. There's probably good 30, 40 topics out there that associations are hiring speakers on. And what I think a lot of speakers find when they're newer, they don't really understand the game. And they're trying to break into getting a breakout slot. Well, yeah, sure. A lot of associations won't pay for breakout slots, but they almost all, not all, but almost all pay for the keynotes or the general session slots. And the range that they pay for keynote or general session slots, is 5,000 to 10,000 for smaller associations or state regional associations, and that 10 to 20,000. And, a little bit less, a little bit more for national associations for the keynotes. And again, in many of the interviews I've done with association decision makers, I flat ask them, what do you pay? And in the interviews that I have, they tell me. So the misnomer that associations and or societies, and just for our talk today, I'm just going to use the term association to encompass all trade associations and professional societies.
And to clarify, the societies are where individuals join. The trade associations are generally some representative from a company.
Oh no,
right?
The company joins and all the employees of the company have access.
Okay.
So let's say, let's just pick a trade association that might be a roofing association. Well, a company might join and a company might have anywhere from 10 to 300 employees. Well, all of those 10 to 300 employees can access the benefits of membership in the association. In contrast, a professional society, the person joins, like Dr. Jones, and only Dr. Jones has access. If Dr. Jones's a practice manager wants access, then Dr. Jones's practice manager also has to join. So it's just to help people understand the difference, because if you do a little bit of research and you go, oh, this trade association only has 500 members. Well, they still may have 2,000 people at their meeting. So because multiple people from a company might go to that meeting.
Excellent point. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed all of that out because it is a really important designation, especially when you're approaching associations. Okay, so how did you break in? How did you get your first paid
Sure.
engagement
Yeah.
with an association?
When I was still selling sunglasses and knew I was going to be evolving, I started writing articles for Action Sports Retailer magazine, and they even paid me back in the early '90s, $100 an article, and that was before computers and all that. And so I wrote the article, my wife typed it, and then if she made a mistake, she had to retype it, and then I mailed it in. I mean, you think of how difficult
For
it
that
was.
big $100.
Oh yeah, for $100. But here's the cool thing that I did. I took each of those articles, photocopied them, and then would send it to association editors and go, if you'd like to reprint this article, I'll give you permission.
Ooh,
And then the editors started helping me connect to the meeting decision makers for hiring speakers. And actually, a number of times, the editor would also be the one that hired the speaker. That was a good thing. And so it was an evolution by helping them, by giving them content, by making what I like to call relationship bank deposits first before I try to make relationship bank withdrawals, a mistake many people make. That they got to liking me, liking that I would help them, would give to them, and they started helping me get on their program. And then I kept writing more and more articles, and it just kind of mushroomed, over time. And when I started, because I came from selling to retail, I mostly focused on retail and retail associations, so forth and so on. And then, things evolve. And I wrote my first book on the art of partnering on alliances. And at that time, the distribution industries were starting to look at, those kinds of relationships. And all of a sudden, it kind of exploded in the distribution. And so, sometimes the market decides for you, who wants to hire you. That gets into a whole nother discussion that we could talk about later. That what's your strategy for selling? Do you want to have a unfocused shotgun approach, try to sell to everybody? Oh, my topic is wonderful, everybody needs it. Or do you want to pick an industry, laser focus, get known in that industry? Fortunately for me, not that I was that bright when I got into it, but just going down the retail rabbit hole, because that was my background, I got known very quickly in various retail associations, and then it morphed from there. So that
very
was,
nice. So how long before you could quit your day job when you really started focusing on speaking and specifically through these associations?
it took
How
it,
long for you?
it
Uh-huh.
took a few years.
A
It
few
like I said,
years.
from in 1984, I decided to want to be a speaker. 1987, I went to my first National Speakers Association, a chapter meeting. I didn't like that everybody was selling to everybody. Then in 1988, I had enough behind me that I could join the National Speakers Association as a professional member. And then January 1991, I launched. So
Okay.
I tell people, don't quit your day job unless you got a fabulous golden parachute, or if until you're really ready. And you know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a part-time professional speaker. I mean,
Well, I think you hit on something there because, first of all, I love the way that you explained the difference between a public speaker and a professional speaker. And I'll take it just a step further. I'd like to hear if you agree. So, public speaker, you're getting out there, you're getting your voice out there for whatever reason, maybe wanting to build awareness on something, maybe wanting to just grow your own confidence,
sure.
whatever that might be, or just have an issue that you're
Mhm,
passionate about that you
mhm,
want to get out there and get your
mhm.
voice on, versus a professional speaker who a significant part of your revenue model,
Mhm.
your income,
Yeah.
is connected to speaking,
Mhm.
whether it means that host check or the audience checks, right?
Mhm.
Whatever that looks like, if a major part of your overall income
Yeah.
is comes from the power of your voice, then you're a professional speaker. A
And I
lot
would
of
add one
people,
thing to that. Would
yeah,
add one
go
thing to
go
that.
for it.
There, there's a lot of people kind of think about, well, the only model, if I don't get paid to speak, I'm not a professional speaker. But But there's a model out there that a lot of speakers, they go and speak for free at a conference, but they sell $100,000 worth of books. So is that person a
Pretty
professional speaker?
fabulous. Yeah,
I
pretty
think so.
fabulous payday.
Yeah, I think so. So I would encourage everybody watching. There's a lot of different models out there. So when somebody starts and you just go speak at Rotary clubs and Kiwanis clubs and Sir Optimus clubs, yes, you're a public speaker, you're not a professional speaker. But as you evolve, whether you take the route that I speak for free to get more business, to get more clients, that's being professional. Whether I speak for free to sell products or sell services, consulting courses, that's professional. Or if I get a paycheck to speak, that's also professional.
Yes. I love that you said that. And that leads perfectly into my next comment because you alluded to it here a moment ago. There are a lot of speakers out there who may have been part of Toastmasters, or they spoke a lot for their organization or their
Sure.
corporation. And they really feel like, I've got the IP, I've got the charisma, got a great talk down, whatever it might be. I'm going to step into this, and speaking is going to be my career by the end of this year. How many times have you seen that actually happen?
I think the hard thing is for somebody that wants to get into speaking, and I'll tell you a quick little story. Years ago at the National Speakers Association, they used to run tracks, and to get into the master track, you had to be a member for 10 years. So I was in one of the sessions, and there's a young guy in there, and he put up his hand, and the moderator or speaker called on me, and the young guy said, I don't want to do all this marketing stuff. I just want to speak. And the entire room broke up in hysterical laughter. And he's like, what? I mean, clearly that person shouldn't have been there, but that's very typical of somebody newer. I just want to speak, and I don't understand the business behind getting on the stage, because there is a pretty substantial business and a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that you've got to do. Getting on the stage, that's the fun part. That's the exciting part. That's the payoff for doing all the hard work to get there. And I think too many people new in the business, they see, John Doe, Jane Doe speaking on the main platform. Oh my God, they get a $20,000 check for an hour talk. Yeah, but they don't understand what it took John Doe, Jane Doe to get there. And I think that's
They're
the real
comparing their
misnomer.
year 1 with John Doe's year 10, right? And
Yeah. And that's where I would say to people trying to break into it, this is a business to do it. It's a lot of work. You have to understand sales and marketing. And if you don't have the money to hire a sales and marketing person, you have to be willing to be your sales and marketing person. Also, you have to be your admin person. Also, you have to be your content development person. Also, you have to be your PowerPoint slide creation person. And all of these things that sometimes the business of speaking, 90% of it can be everything behind the scenes, and only 10% is on the stage. And I don't think enough people realize that and see that and understand that.
Yeah, you put that very beautifully. We owned a paint contracting company for about 40 years, and we would get so many bailout calls, right? They just thought they're going to pick up a paintbrush and paint the wall. Like, how hard can that be? That's the easy part. The hard part is preparing the walls, doing all the prep work, like everything that goes before you actually get to paint the wall. And people didn't realize that would make a terrible mess, or it just turned out globby, terrible, all
Yeah.
the things. That's the same with a speaking career. And I'm so glad that you brought this up, Ed, because it is not said enough. There's so many people trying to sell you, let me do your signature talk and you're going to become a breakout. You're going to make $1 million next year, whatever. That's one piece of a very, very
You
big puzzle.
you
And
you bring up you bring up what aggravates the heck out of me there. And I got to be careful here, and I got to be nice, and I got to be kind. There's so many schmucks selling to speakers that aren't speakers, haven't been a speaker, don't understand, but they're like, you pay me $10,000 and I'm going to show you how to get on Keynote platforms. I can't tell you how many people, and I know this is my passion right now. I can't I can't tell you how many people that I've worked with that are speakers. Hey, I just paid so and so, and I'm not going to mention any names. I just paid so and so $10,000, and I'm not anywhere. And I go, well, and I start asking questions, and well, nobody's ever asked me those questions. I go, well, there you go. So this is a world of buyer beware. And if somebody's promising you, I'm going to get you on platforms and I'm going to get you on 100 platforms in a year at $20,000 fees, run. Don't walk, run, because it doesn't happen. It's not truthful. It's not viable. It's not the way the industry is. It's a lot of flipping hard work.
It is, and it's a machine. You said it a minute ago. We're so on the same page, Ed. You said it a minute ago that it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yes.
business can you just hire one consultant or one little thing and that's everything? It's not. Even if you have an agent, let's say you have 3 agents because you happen to have been so you happen to have landed your plane in the Hudson River and nobody died, right? Maybe all that made you a speaker. And so agents brought you on, you still have a lot of work.
Yeah.
If you want those consistent monthly high value
Well, let's take that
opportunities.
example. Let's take that example. Okay, so Scully, who landed the plane, okay, yeah, Washington Speakers Bureau, leading authorities, all those grabbed him up. Great. But there's another guy that I sat in his program that was one of the passengers on that plane. And he's telling his story. And it was pretty good. But and I chatted with the gentleman at the meeting that I was at afterwards, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'd run into a few speakers that were helping me." And I said, "That's great." And I was asking him about the business, and he expected that he was going to get leading authorities, Washington, some of the to bring him on like Scully. It's like, no, man, you're not the one that landed the plane. You just happen to be sitting on the plane, and so there's a big chasm between those two, and there's a lot of people that have got a good story, that have got something good to tell, that are interesting, but not at that level. And so they think, oh, as soon as I get a speaker bureau to pick me up, all my troubles are ended. Well, number one, they're not going to pick you up. Number two, you're probably not going to get booked. And because you got to remember with speaker bureaus, love them to death, but you got to remember they're salespeople. Who are they going to sell? Who are they going to sell? The easiest person to sell. Is it the best person for the client? Not necessarily. Who's the easiest person to sell? So I think that there's a lot of misnomers in how this business works, and a lot of erroneous beliefs by people getting into the business. I'm going to get an agent and then I'm going to go crazy. Yeah, no, you're not.
You are singing my song. You are singing my song. This is a really important conversation. I'm glad we're having it. We didn't plan this part of our conversation, but I think it's really, really important because there are some very disheartened speakers out there who've bought this or that program and felt like maybe I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
Maybe there's something wrong with me, when that's really not it at all. You just weren't shown that there's a whole bunch of pieces to the puzzle.
Mhm.
And great, get on if you can, right?
Mhm.
Get with a couple of non-exclusive agents, get on some bureaus, because the bureaus are really good at SEO. So just be findable, be where people can find you, but that don't rest on that. You
Well, there's
have
one
a
more
business
element,
to run. Go
one
ahead.
more
Yeah.
important element. And I tell new speakers this: whenever the bureau meets you, whoever you are that day, in their mind is who you are 10 years from now. So I recommend to newer speakers, until you are ready, do not reach out to bureaus, because you got one chance to make that first impression. One chance. And again, bureaus, they're salespeople. They're going to sell the easiest thing to sell. And if they see you when, let's just say, year one in your career and you're not that good, they're not going to take the time to watch your video again. And 10 years from now, there's in their head, you're still that speaker from 10 years ago. So I I caution people, don't jump in too quick.
Okay, we're going to have to do another. We're going to have to do another interview as well, because we're as we begin winding down. There's so many more questions I want to ask you. And you just to interject this, as you know, probably, I started out as a producer, so I was putting speakers on my own stages, pretty large scale stages. Back then, it was natural wellness space, and then I evolved to that traditional agent and agency. Lots of inequalities, lots of things I didn't love, exactly what you said. Even though this particular speaker is better for this job, he's going to sit on the bench because this person is already commanding a lot more. I'm going by commission only. That I just didn't love
We
that.
know.
I didn't love that as a producer, and I didn't love that as an agency. And I also saw a lot of very fabulous speakers out there who did not get that business side.
Yeah.
So we at Speakers Global Agency have created a business in the box for speakers, because they don't understand, they don't want to become tech geniuses, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just took all of that away from them, made sure that machine is going to run for them, understand visibility, positioning, which you and I are going to talk about in a moment,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the brand building and all that stuff that they don't need to become experts in it, but they need to understand that's part of the picture, and it has to happen if you're going to have that long-term longevity.
I'll share a conversation. So I live in Thousand Oaks, California. The headquarters were Amgen.
My old stomping grounds.
Okay, so Amgen's a pretty decent sized company. So I'm in New England presenting for the meetings industry. And I'm chatting with a meeting planner that happened to be from Amgen. I had to go to New England to meet somebody that lives, 2 blocks from me. And she said to me, she says, well, why is it? And at the time it was Washington Speakers Bureau. I mentioned names. She said, why does Washington Speakers Bureau keep sending me people that I don't really want? And I said, well, number one, you got to understand. First, they have to send you their exclusives. And once you decline their exclusives, then they'll send you the next on the bench, which is probably more of what you want. But they're not going to send you any of the speakers that are really good, that are reasonably priced, because of what you mentioned it earlier, commission. So that's a reality. That's part of the reason that, and when I started the association and society speakers community, which is virtual, it was because I wanted to help speakers to better understand how to sell to associations and societies. And it's a monthly subscription. It's not where you have to sign up for a year. And so that's the thing that aggravated me so much with some of these people that I won't mention names, that, $10,000, we got you for a year. At the end of the year, we got nothing. And when I, with a friend, Aidan Crawford, created this community, it's like, hey, man, it's monthly. Join for a month. Take all the resources if you can, because I think that's a more fair way to help people.
That's a perfect segue into my next question. And that is, by this time, there is a big number in our audience who are going to want to know, how do we get a hold of Ed Rigsbee? How do we find your books?
Yeah.
How do we get connected? I know you have several fabulous memberships for speakers. So let's talk about that for a moment.
Sure. Real quick, if somebody is interested in joining my community, association and society speakers community, it's speakercommunity.org. Speakercommunity.org. If somebody wants to know more about me and all the things I do for association execs, my website is my last name, Rigsbee, Rigsbee, no Y, Rigsbee, Riggs and a Bumblebee, Rigsbee.com.
Riggs and a Bumblebee, okay.
Rigsbee.com. And on that website, you can look at the communities that I run, all the things that I do, and you can get a hold of me. And, an easy email address this is going to be a hard one, Ed Rigsbee at Gmail. EDRIGSBEE, Ed Rigsbee at Gmail. So, so I'm pretty easy to get to, and even for people that make the mistake, if they type in edrigsbee.com, I have that pointing to rigsbee.com. So it's
Okay.
very easy for people to get a hold of me.
Reach out to him. He's got incredible books on different, whether you want to start memberships, whether you want to really break into the association market, whether you really want to start tapping into a lead, relationship building, right? There's just, you have been through it. You have worked with the major organizations that can bring a lot, to the table. So definitely look Ed up. Okay, Ed, as we close,
Yeah, sure.
this is SpeakPact, and
Mhm.
we together are on a pact to make the greatest impact that we can with our voices, right? What is one challenge, something tactical that our audience can do today,
Mhm.
tomorrow, that will really move the needle in their career?
Sure. Your audience, they could take a piece of paper and they could draw a parachute and have a whole bunch of strings, going to the parachute. And they could write on each of those strings all of the things that they do, whether they have a job, whether they have a keynote on this, whether they have a training on that, all the things they do. And then on the parachute, draw the parachute. And then in that parachute, write what is your topic that would encompass all of these things? Is it leadership? Is it sales? Is it, there's a host of topics, but just a general topic. So you understand if you're talking to a meeting decision maker, you notice how I don't say meeting planner. And we could talk about that in just a moment if we have time. But when you're talking to a meeting decision maker, they're going to say, what is your topic? Okay, leadership. But then here's the differentiator where so many speakers fail. So many speakers fail. They don't understand their positioning strategy within that topic. They don't understand how they are unique. Now, the definition of unique means one of a kind. They don't understand how they're different, better, special. And so the thing is, if you're a speaker on leadership, there's 6,000 other speakers on leadership. What makes you different, better, special? Why should that meeting decision maker pick you to have a speaker on leadership as opposed to those other 6,000 people? That is the Achilles heel of most speakers. Most speakers I've worked with, they can't answer that question. They can't say, the reason that I'm the best speaker, maybe not the best, the reason that I'm the right speaker for you on leadership is X. And that's what keeps speakers from getting on the phone and making sales calls. That's what keeps speakers from sending customized email letters, about what they have to offer. Because until they understand that little teeny canopy on the top, that the unique, different, better, special, they cannot sell. And that's where call reluctance comes, is because they're not confident in knowing what they're selling and why that association decision maker should select them over the other people on that topic. Once
That
they
is
get that,
fabulous. And you have a downloadable that you're going to be
yeah,
gifting our
yeah,
gifting our guests.
yes,
And we'll make sure that's part of our speak sheets,
yeah,
because it really is so important to distinguish yourself from the other. You said something earlier before we went live, how many actual leadership speakers
hmm,
there are. Like, how come you're different? Why
hmm,
are you the one that should be chosen
yeah.
over the tens of thousands of others?
Well, and the more important question is, should leadership be your topic? When you really, that's why I'm saying, when we look at creating this umbrella graphic for ourselves, what is our topic? And it may not be leadership. It may be productivity. It may be something else. The other thing that I would encourage all of your listeners, you know, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is conveniently Ed Rigsbee. And there's a speaker playlist, professional speaker playlist. And on that, there's a short video that explains my whole selling to association system. And there's a couple videos, if you scroll down, there's two videos on there that are about 2 hours each, which is a recording of me doing a presentation for one of the chapters of the National Speakers Association. So somebody can listen to, the lion's share of my presentation, on that. And, the other thing I'd tell them, go to Amazon, You can buy the ebook copy of this. It's only a couple bucks for the ebook copy of Booked. And that basically parallels the presentations they can look at YouTube and explains it in more detail. So
Wow.
There's a lot of resources for free or for next to nothing that I would encourage all of your listeners and viewers to take advantage of it. Jump in.
You are a wealth. You are a wealth. Thank you for all of this. This is incredible. I definitely want to have you back, maybe in February,
Sure.
for a part 2, because we just touched the tip of the iceberg, what you have to bring to the speaking community. And I definitely want to dive in deeper with you. But start off, everybody, with looking him up on Amazon, looking him up on YouTube, going to his different websites that he gave us, not too hard to remember, speakercommunity.org and rigsbee.com.
Yeah.
Definitely look him up. Thank you, Ed, for being with us today. You've been really, really insightful.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And thank you, SpeakPact audience, for joining us. The way you can give us flowers and a thank you for all that we brought to you today is just share it forward. Share this information with other emerging speakers, with other speakers that are wanting to scale their businesses. This is really insider insights that is hard earned, and be that person who gets out there and shares it. Give us the likes. Let us know you walked away with a little something. And for now, ciao, ciao.
Thank you for listening to the SpeakPact podcast. To become a recommended speaker of Antoniette's WPC speaker agency, or you are a host or planner looking for a dynamic expert in optimized performance, Antoniette would like to personally meet with you. Secure a time with her at speakerbooker.com. Again, that is speakerbooker.com. It all begins with a vision, a voice, and a pact to impact. Join the SpeakPact movement by joining our new private Facebook group at the link in our show notes. Find us on nearly every social media platform at One Antoniette. That's number 1, ANTONIETTE, or simply hashtag SpeakPact.